Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 2 of the YarnderWoman podcast. My name is Melinda, I'm YarnderWoman, and thank you so much for joining me. And I'd really like to thank everyone who's given me such wonderful feedback on episode 1. It really makes me pleased to know that you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll enjoy all the future episodes as well. So thank you for coming back, thank you for coming if you're a new viewer. And don't forget to go and join the Ravelry group. Introduce yourself on the thread if you feel like it, but otherwise come along and join in. It'd be great to have you. So it's been about 2 weeks since I recorded, though I only uploaded episode 1 mid last week because we had some computer issues in getting things edited. But hopefully we'll be doing it, recording every 2 weeks, possibly every week, but we'll see how we go, but at least every 2 weeks for sure. So last week was my birthday, and I'd like to thank everyone for such wonderful birthday wishes. I'd especially like to thank Nina, Julia and Molly for the wonderful Ravelry patterns that you purchased for me. I was really touched, ladies, so thank you so much. It makes me really happy, and they're all patterns that I've been wanting for a while, so that's even better. So you'll probably see those patterns coming up in future projects. When I had my birthday, I had the day off, so that was really lovely, and I went to an area that's about half an hour from where I live. It's sort of semi-rural, a lot of wineries and a chocolate factory and coffee and lavender and alpacas, so it was a lovely day. I went with my stepdaughter Sophie, who's 14, and my mum, and we had a girls' day out, so that's really lovely. So today's Brooching the Subject is from the same shop on Etsy as last week's, which is Hannah Letters, and today we've got Little Red Riding Hood. As you can probably guess, I'm quite obsessed with Hannah Letters brooches, so do have a look. She's got hundreds to choose from, and I highly recommend it. She's got wonderful customer service and really, really detailed craftsmanship, so have a look and you won't be disappointed. Finished objects. I've actually got a few things because I was able to get a little project done, which was a quick win, so that was always nice. So I've made some little mitts for my little niece. Now these are actually still wet because I've been blocking them. So this is the Happily Ever After mitts, went blank there, by Susan B. Anderson. I've used this pattern before. I've made a pair for myself, my brother and my mum, and it's in seeing those that my little niece, who's 6, wanted some of her own. So I just adapted the stitch count. Strangely enough, they almost fit me though because I've got very small hands. But that's those. They're knit in the Unique Sheep sushi sock. Now sushi is my most favourite food in the entire world, and I lived in Japan for a couple of years. So when I saw there was a yarn called Sushi Sock and in the colourway Cherry Blossoms, I was sold. And my niece loves pink, so these are very great for her. And because they've got the bamboo, they're really, really soft. I think it's bamboo and wool, I'm not sure of the percentages. But they're really, really soft when they're not wet. It's a bit cold at the moment. But I blocked them using Tuft Woolen's wool soap, and it smells amazing. The smell is really strong. I believe I used the vanilla and almond blend. I bought the little 5 sock soap sampler, I should say that 3 times, from Martha of Tuft Woolens on Etsy, and it's just beautiful. And as I said, these are still wet because I just blocked them earlier. And earlier this morning, I was actually participating in a jam. My partner Damien has put together a little band, and they got me to do some of the singing. And what was really lovely is the soap smells so nice. And I did it just before I came out to sing, and I had my hands on the microphone, and my hands still smelled the soap, so it was really nice. So thanks, Mother. Also blocked that yesterday with the soap were my socks. I finished them. Now I realised last week I forgot to tell you about the yarn, so sorry about that. This is self-striping in Stray Cat sock yarns. They're on Etsy, they're from New Zealand. I believe it's a merino nylon 75-25 blend. And then the heel yarn, I did mention last week, is with a different yarn again. and I'm afraid I can't remember which one that was, but it was sent to me by Rose, who's a La Freniere, when we were doing a sock swap knit along that Mel of Emski Knits, of single-handed knits put together. Oh, so exciting. Mel is going to have to change the name of her podcast and her blog because she is no longer single-handed. Ah, so exciting. So congratulations, Mel, on all the hard work you've put into getting your arm and your hand better. And I'm really looking forward to see what you decide to call your entity now. And yes, all the knit-alongs that Mel organised was a really great way to bring friends together, and I got some awesome red yarn from Rose. I've worn these already, so that's why I had washed them with Martha's soap, not with Martha. Sorry, Martha. And they're really comfortable. I think the slip stitches have sort of brought it in a bit and made it a bit tighter, so it's really good. My other finished object I don't have anymore. I've already given it to the recipient, but through the magic of technology, here's a picture of it now. So that is the Bunny Buddy Snuggly, something like that. I'll put it in the show notes. It's a free pattern from Peyton's or one of the yarn companies, and it's a very quick knit. I used Barocco the Chunky in the colour Raspberry, and it was really lovely colour. It was red, but you could see this undertone of blue in it. And very quick knit. I started that one a while ago and then finished it off yesterday, but all up it only took a few hours, so it's definitely a project you can do in a day or over a weekend. And it's a really lovely present for someone, or I mean for yourself or your own child, but it's a lovely present to give because it's something really snuggly that little babies can really get into and suck on and chew, and using a machine washable yarn makes it really helpful for the parents. So my friend seemed very happy with that, and so it was very cute to see the little baby with it. So that was my last finished object for the week. Works in progress. So I have been continuing with my Dragonfly Wings shawl that I showed you last week. I've made some good progress on it in the lace section. So let's see, of course being all bunched up on the needles it's a bit hard to tell. But it's going really, really well. I was a little bit scared of the lace, to be honest, because I've not done a lot of lace before, and I've had some experiences where I seem to end up one stitch off or something and it doesn't quite work out. But I haven't had that problem at all with this. It's been wonderful. I had one time where I got to a marker and realised I had missed a section, but it was really easy to read your stitches, so I could just tink back and fix it really easily, no problems. So I'm really, really liking this. I think I have about 10 rows to go, so I'm nearly finished. And then I'm going to have a shawl, so it's very exciting. This is using, I've got stitch markers from Little Skein in the Big Wool. These are from the Dorothy Gale of Kansas set, and they come blue like this, and then there's a couple with red rings like the Ruby Slippers from Wizard of Oz, so they're very cool. And this project is of course in my tea time bag from Molly of Homespun House. And I know I said I might have finished this before this next podcast, but it hasn't happened, so it will get there. My next project is a new one that you haven't seen yet, and that's living in my bag from Birdleg Bags, and this one is called Gothic Cupcakes. How could I resist? I actually prefer wedge-shaped bags usually, but I got this box one because, again, the fabric. Hello! So, in here, I've got some stunning yarn. Isn't that gorgeous? This is from the Cyborgs Craft Room on Etsy. Gorgeous colours, look at that. And it's called Deep Dark Secrets, this one. And I'm using this to make my first pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks. Oh, my needles are all tangled up in themselves. There we go. Isn't that stunning? I've only recently discovered Cyborg's Craft Room a few months ago, and I've bought quite a few of his skeins now. But this is one of the first ones I got, and I just fell in love with it. It's just beautiful. The colours are just so vibrant and saturated. And I've been wanting to make this pattern for a while, and conveniently came along the Classic Knits cowl, hosted by Molly of A Homespun House and Kristen from the Yarngasm podcast. So that was a really good excuse to cast these on. Not that I need an excuse, but it's always nice to fit in with something. I'm hoping these are going to be the right size. So these socks here, I did 64 stitches on a 2.5mm needle. And these have fit so far, and as I said, having the slip stitches, they feel a little bit tighter, which is good. But the couple of other pairs of socks I've knit have ended up stretching out after a few wears, and to the point where they fall down if I'm not wearing tight shoes. So my mum has inherited them, so she's quite lucky, because I've made my mum other socks specifically for her, but she seems to be inheriting all the ones that stretch out a bit. So these, I did a bit of an experiment. I started the top of the cuff on a 2.25mm, did a few rows of that. Then I moved to 2.5, and I only cast on 60 instead of 64. So they're not too small because they do go over my heel to put on and try. So I'm hoping that this will be the right size for me. I know it's all experimentation, but you know what it's like when you spend ages knitting a pair of socks and then they end up stretching out. It's a bit disappointing. But fortunately, my mum is half to one shoe size bigger than me, so at least they've got a good home to go to. Okay, needle adjacent. So these are some future projects that I'm really keen to get on the needles. So I mentioned earlier that the lovely Nina, Julia and Molly had bought me some patterns. The pattern that Molly bought me was the slow-mo snail, and I can't wait to cast this on. My little nephew Liam, who's 4, is obsessed with snails. They're one of his favourite animals. So when I saw that that pattern was available, I thought of him immediately. And I've got the most beautiful yarn to knit the shell with. Look at this. So pretty. This is Query Fibre Arts, and it's the best colour, all the crayons in the box. Perfect name for it. So this is going to be the snail's shell colour, and then the body, I'm thinking maybe a yellow or a green, but I'll have to see. So that's on the go for him, or sorry, will be on the go for him shortly. And the bag that's living in, this is another one by Bird Leg Bags, with the nice ravens or crows. I'm not enough of an ornithologist to know which ones they are. If we say raven, it's more Edgar Allan Poe-ish, isn't it? Or if we say the crow, it's like the comic in the movie The Crow. Either way, you're winning. So that's one of my projects coming up. And the other project I've got coming up is the Hirafude Cardigan. So that one's been going around the interwebs quite a bit, and that's the other project that I'm going to be knitting as part of the Classic Knit Catalog. Knit-along? I clearly have not had enough coffee today. So Classic Knits Knit-along or Cal, either of those. So I've been wanting, I haven't actually made a cardigan for myself before. The closest I've come is making a little shrug, and I made that as part of the Nightbird shrug knit along a couple of months ago. And I really enjoyed that, but I am going to have to rip out the bottom and lengthen it because it finished at an odd level, shall we say. So it needs a bit of adjusting. But I'm really looking forward to making this cardigan. Now, Nightbird is actually having a cardigan knit along. They had it for July and August. And the Classic Knits Cat-along is, I did it again, cat-along. Knit-along is for August and September. So I've got that month crossover because I had been planning on doing a different cardigan, but the yarn I ordered, the colour wasn't quite right, and the replacement colour that I have got on order hasn't arrived yet. but that works out perfectly because it means I can start my Hirafude. So this is the yarn that I'm going to be using for that. Madeline Tosh. Yay. And the colourway Victorian Gothic. I've got a lot of Gothic happening this episode, which is cool. I like it. So, beautiful, beautiful yarn. I can't wait to get this into a cardigan. And I believe it's actually one of the yarns that was used for the original pattern. So I have no doubt it's going to look fabulous, assuming that I knit it properly, of course. Remember I mentioned earlier about lace and being a bit worried? I have to say I'm a little bit scared about knitting this cardigan that's pretty much all lace, but if I, you know, channel the goodness from my Dragonfly Wings shawl, maybe I can say that the bad luck with me and lace has passed on and it'll be fine. It'll be fine, right? Okay. The bag that I have planned for the Hirafude is this one. Gorgeous French pastries from Little Skein in the Big Wall. And I love the inside fabric. It's got sugar cubes and sugar containers. Very cute. I have a lot of other things planned for knitting, but one must contain one's excitement and try and be sensible. It's hard. Well, I think that's about it for episode 2. A very quick message. A few people have asked about whether the podcast will be available on iTunes, and I very much hope so. I'm just getting everything sorted and working out a host and getting it all organised, because I know I like to watch my podcast through iTunes, so I completely understand, and I will be getting it up there as soon as possible. For now, it will be on YouTube, on the YarnderWoman channel. Show notes will be at yarnderwoman.blogspot.com.au. And if you've got anything you'd like to ask me, feel free to leave me a message on the Ravelry thread in the group, or send me a Ravelry message, that's fine. And finally, before we sign off, I would like to show you what I'm wearing. This is a scarf called the Windy City scarf, and I believe it was from the book Stitch and Bitch, the Knitter's Handbook, which is actually the first book that I ever got on knitting. So I might tell you about my knitting backstory in the next episode. But this is a great scarf because it's got a little window here. Don't look at my bad join. As I said, I made this when I was first starting to knit. So, and it's great because, as in a windy city or anywhere where it's a little bit breezy, you can feed through the hole and it keeps it on your neck. I don't remember what the yarn is. I believe it's a woolen bamboo, but I actually made this for my stepdaughter and she doesn't really wear it much, so I've taken it back. Why not? So thank you very much for joining me. It's been great to spend some time with you, and I will see you in the next 1 or 2 weeks. And until then, happy crafting!